As is evident, the current landscape of the gym industry is rocky. It was absolutely ravished through lockdown as many gyms around the world struggled to survive through multiple months of complete closure. In fact, some unfortunately were unable to keep their heads above water, considering all of the financial pressure that was on them. Getting out of lockdown now presents its own unique challenges. Surviving was the first part of the battle. The question now becomes, is the opportunity still there for many of these gyms who have had their egos bruised and guts punched to thrive on the back end of all of this chaos? In today's video, I want to cover the 5 primary changes that we've made in order to ensure that we're being as socially responsible as possible given the current climate that is facing businesses globally, and further, that we're ensuring that we're considering the genuine concerns that our clients have and respecting that concern so that they can return to training and the prioritization of their health with confidence. So one of the first things that we did was doubling and tripling down on cleaning protocols. Now, we already prided ourselves in the reality that we were incredibly clean. In fact, one of my good friends, who might just happen to be watching this video, might recall mentioning to one of his own clients that the floors were so clean in this gym that you could probably eat off of them. Now, I wouldn't necessarily suggest that, as I wouldn't suggest anyone eat off of floors anywhere, but that's a testament to the cleanliness standard that we held ourselves to previously. That being said, taking the general cleaning duties that we already regularly engaged in and doubling and tripling them respectively. Further, adding in a different degree of cleaning that we had never done before in consideration of certain pieces of equipment that might not be cleaned to the same degree as others. For example, it's not very common for you to wipe down the sleeves of a barbell, but ensuring that if contact has been made in the process of putting a weight plate onto said barbell, that we would be taking the time to sanitize every surface to the best of our ability. Building off of that, we've also ordered a fogging machine. Part of the reason why is because, let's be honest, who doesn't want to look like a Ghostbuster during a portion of their work day? And it'll make for some interesting TikTok content. Who you gonna call? But also because it allows for a very efficient way for us to go across the entire facility itself and ensure that every surface, even ones that may have been missed, although unlikely because we're quite diligent, would be covered frequently. But again, looking like a Ghostbuster is definitely a certain sell for us having access to a fogging machine as well. Maybe an obvious addition to this list would be the increased hand sanitizer stations. Now, pre-lockdown, we already had one sanitizer station at the front door and a small bottle available for clients as well. But they weren't often used. Most clients simply used soap and water. That being said, now they're used much more frequently, and we've gone as far as to add 3 more stations so clients are able to conveniently access hand sanitizer wherever they might be in the gym. Understanding that our training floor is not massive, so 3 stations is actually almost excessive. 2 probably would have been adequate, but we always want to go a step above. We always want to push it one level higher in consideration of the standards that we're trying to maintain. Now we're also doing temperature checks, and this is a topic that is often debated. Many businesses are not doing this at all. Some businesses always do it. Here's our rationale. At the end of the day, a significant portion of people are going to be asymptomatic, no doubt about it. But some individuals will show symptoms. One of those symptoms, which is invisible, is going to be their temperature. That being said, we would assume that somebody who's running a high temperature would simply stay home, but that's not always the case. Some people are a little more resilient and maybe have a higher tolerance to sickness and relative discomfort, and it may not even register as that big of a deal for those people. That being said, we can catch that symptom with a simple temperature check. It takes about 33 seconds while individuals are filling out their basic questionnaire. Both the temperature check and questionnaire are mandatory before their training session begins. And it allows us to mitigate a small percentage of the risk factor with a simple investment of time. The fourth consideration that we've made is relative to PPE use. For clients, they're expected to wear a face covering or face mask into the business and then to keep it on anytime they're off the training floor itself. So we suggest to them to keep it with them during their workout, should they have to leave the training floor, to go to their jacket, to check their phone, to go to the washroom, something along those lines, and of course when they exit the building itself. This ensures that there's a level of respect maintained as well for other clients should they get a little bit too close by chance. It does occur, maybe when you're rounding a corner or as you're going into and out of the change rooms in order to access the bathroom itself, entering and exiting the building. Sometimes you're not expecting somebody to be right there, and next thing you know, you're in their bubble, if you will. And in order to ensure that all clients are respected in consideration of their concerns, and also so that we're being as socially responsible as possible, that PPE consideration is maintained across the board as you enter and exit the building, and of course, anytime you're not on the training floor itself. As coaches, anytime we're working with a client or on the training floor itself, we will also be wearing a face mask or face covering in order to ensure that we are also being as socially responsible as possible and respecting our clients' relative concerns to the current situation. Now, it's worth noting that this is not an exhaustive list, nor will it be when I cover the fifth consideration that we prioritized. These are the big ticket items. These are the significant changes to structure and standard operating procedure that we've tackled. There are other significant but certainly smaller changes that we've made that are still impactful in their own way, but definitely aren't as big ticket as these. Definitely not as big ticket as consideration number 5. Now, consideration number 5 is relative to the number of bodies in the building. And it certainly wasn't mandatory to do this. But I always like to ask the question, how can we bring it a step further? How can we do a little bit better? How can we raise the bar in the industry? And this one, I'm pretty proud about. Consideration number 5 was relative to the number of people on the training floor at any given time. Consideration number 5 led us to the addition of a swipe card access system on the facility. And what's interesting is, although many gyms might utilize this in the 24-hour access world, but we are not that. We are a private training facility. And so in a 24-hour access world, the card itself allows you access anytime within the 24-hour window. And I say within as if there's other times that you're not allowed to attend, but in reality, you can get in the building at any point. Our swipe card access, we deploy differently. We've utilized it in order to ensure that we're buffering the number of people in any given time zone. And what this means is that until we return to some degree of normalcy for the foreseeable future, we have assigned clients a strict time zone, meaning your workout starts at 6 a.m. or 3 p.m. or 5 p.m. or whatever your individual preference might be. And obviously there are a limited number of individuals that can be at the building at that time, but fortunately our clientele relative to the time zones available was not stretched in order to accommodate this change. That being said, it is a little bit frustrating for some people to stick to a strict schedule, but it's certainly not impossible, and it's much better than not being able to access the gym at all, as so many were unable to do for the past 6 months. So we've reached out to clients who normally train in the morning, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. We've said, hey, listen, what is your ideal training time? And they might say, well, I'd love to train at 9:30, and we've responded and said, well, pick 9 or 10, right? We want to keep our morning times on the hour. And they might say 10 o'clock, and we might say, perfect, we have that available. Sometimes we don't, but we do our best to accommodate as often as possible. So that individual would have a swipe card that would access the building 10 minutes before their session time begins and 10 minutes after. This means that none of our clients have to worry about booking times online, as so many gyms are doing. They don't have to jump on the computer 10 days in advance of their training session and hope that nobody else has already sniped the exact time that they would have preferred. So although a little bit frustrating to have such a strict time locked in place, it's also encouraging to know that you're not going to lose that time, as is the case in so many gym settings currently, as individuals are constantly having to book times on a frequent basis. And if there's a high demand for the time zone that they want, they're often unable to get it on a consistent basis. This proves incredibly frustrating, and much more frustrating than having to, build your schedule around a set time throughout the week. This change is allowing us to ensure that there's never more than 5 individuals on the training floor at any given time, including the coaches themselves. As you can imagine, with almost 2,000 square feet of open training floor, we are more than able to adequately social distance. And with these 5 considerations prioritized, although again, this is not an exhaustive list, it's simply the 5 biggest ticket items on said list. It shows our clients that we care. It shows our clients that we respect their concern, and it allows them peace of mind as we address the current situation to the best of our ability, as we prioritize as professionals quality of service to a higher standard, as well as social responsibility in a time when we all need to do our part and work together to get back to some degree of normalcy sooner than later. If you found this video to be insightful, informative in any way whatsoever, I encourage you to follow or subscribe, depending of course on what social media platform you're seeing this on. And as per usual, if you happen to have any questions or curiosities regarding training, business, nutrition, lifestyle, or something completely off topic, make sure you reach out, leave a comment, send me a private message, and touch base. And if I'm able to address it in an upcoming video, you better believe that I will.